Live from the R&R studios in the good old friendly city, it's the Boys from the Wheel podcast.
What's going on, guys? Welcome into the Boys from the Wheel podcast. And as you can see, Demuth is ready to do that hockey.
He's ready to run over somebody.
I'm telling you what, man. I'm definitely excited for today's show. How we feeling, boys?
I'm just trying not to get in front of Muth.
I was going to say.
Hey, you be like my daughter come busting through. When my daughter came busting through the doorway a couple days ago, scared the shit out of Sean. Just came flying
two
through
times,
the
like the Kool-Aid man, dude.
Wasn't even paying attention. All of a sudden, she's standing here going, "Hey!" Didn't even know she was there.
That's so funny.
Boom.
Well, just so we know, Muth, you're fair game to put in the penalty box, so we can do that.
I
today.
mean, you just want me to go out of the room or what?
You got to stand in the corner.
We'll figure it
Oh,
out.
wait, here I can go back here and sit. Hold on. Sit back here.
You can slam the door and everything.
Wait a minute. Hold on. Wait a minute. I got boys. Here we go.
Oh, all right. This show's already going off the rails. So, the guys, like we've mentioned all week, we mentioned it last episode. We have a very special guest with us today. Play-by-play man and voice of the Nailers, DJ Abisalh. DJ, how we feeling, brother?
Oh, we're doing great. How are you guys doing?
Good. A little too much fun to start the show. Muth wanted to make sure that he got everything good.
Yeah, he looks like he's all rocking and rolling. So I'm excited. And thanks for having me today. This is cool.
Absolutely. So we had you on way back when we were first getting started, but we got a little bit more bells and whistles now to play with. Talk about last season a little bit for us. Derek Army, seen some milestones, some different things, and just a crazy season end to end. Talk about it a little bit.
Yeah, it was. And I mean, first things first, the team was able to return to the playoffs. And I think when you're in this league and things can change on the flip of a cap in any second of the day, it's really impressive. There's no guarantees. Maybe there are in a couple of markets in this league where you see teams get in every single year, but there was a lot of hard work that was done in the off season. I know that there were some fans that were probably less than thrilled with the way that the 22-23 season ended, but I thought Derek did a really good job of pretty much putting his foot down at the end of that season and say, look, we know we're not going to make the playoffs, but let's see if we can start building for next year now. And I thought he did an amazing job of locating that talent at the end of that season, getting those guys that experience at the end of the 22-23 season. That way, when the season came along this past year, they were ready. They knew what to expect, and they were ready to jump in and make an impact right away, as opposed to kind of having that easing in process. So I thought he did a really great job preparing a year before. Obviously, we saw what kind of impact we saw with the affiliates, and that's something that is imperative. If you're going to have success in the ECHL, you need an affiliate that's going to have a major impact on your roster, giving you those top-end players that are going to have an impact night in, night out. We had so many contracted players, whether it be the goaltenders, the defense, the forwards, and they were all high-impact guys who were making their mark on games night in and night out. So I think you saw that all come together. Obviously, there are going to be some crazy ups and downs, things that you can't predict whatsoever, where the team was battling on the outside, and then on the inside, you saw the high of a 12-game winning streak in January, February. Then you saw the team dip off a little bit in March. And obviously, you have injuries, call-ups that play different parts of that. But ultimately, they were able to rekindle that magic, get a great stretch run at the end of March into April, make their way into the playoff. They were playing great going into the playoffs, and I think that played a big role in them beating Indy in the first round. Unfortunately, fell into Toledo, and, well, everybody's fallen into Toledo in the Central Division in the last 3 or 4 years, so it's unfortunate, but it was still a great season overall. I know that Derek and the team, the organization, really proud of what they were able to accomplish on the ice. And I know from a front office standpoint, we were super thrilled as well. Attendance went up again. It's going to go up again this coming year. So the fan support is outstanding. Our promotions have been top notch. So we're really happy about where we are as an organization, both what we accomplished on the ice and off the ice.
Looked like a little bit more of that wheeling grit this year with this team too. I mean, not to take anything away from previous years, but I feel like more that
they had that swagger.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was looking for. Did you see the same thing that we seen, or?
Yeah, and I think that comes from the locker room, honestly. You see just how tight groups are when they're performing well. And obviously, I was here for the run of the finals in 2016, and you'll never find a closer group of hockey players than that one. That team was so tight. They were all so close with each other. They were all such great friends. They still are great friends to this day. And I think that you saw that start to build up this past year, too. There were a lot of really tight relationships in that locker room. There weren't a lot of egos either. That plays a big role, too. There weren't guys that were rowing in a different direction, sending the ship off the course. And I think you see that when it translates onto the ice. Guys are more willing. Like you said, maybe you guys see it more in that grit where players are willing to stick up for each other more, not just go, well, he's doing his thing, I'm just going to go off to the other side because I don't want to deal with this. No, they're in it together. They're a team. And I think that really plays a factor. And you see that emotion, that spirit when they're out onto the ice together. And I think that makes them extra dangerous.
Yeah. You mean like this? I mean, this was a mark. I mean, they talked about Diamond Hands, and hey, he showed up, and so did Boomhauer in a big way.
That was an interesting one. That was something that was talked about for a while. And Daniel Amesbury, who's the player for the Fort Wayne Comets, he had a big history. He's actually at West Banco Arena before at Rough and Rowdy. And Fort Wayne had signed him. They wanted a physical presence. And he came right out in his first game. He fought Chaz Redikoff of Kalamazoo, who's a true heavyweight in this league, and won the fight decisively. And I think from that point on, you heard Fort Wayne talk about, oh, man, like nobody's going to challenge him. And Amesbury would go around during the warm-ups, and he would ask guys to go, and other teams would be like, no, I'm not doing this. Like Allen in Cincinnati wanted no part of this guy. And it was kind of funny leading up because we had talked within the team, and I knew going into that game that it was going to happen. There was not a doubt in the world. The whole team knew Boomhauer wanted that fight like nobody's business. And it was actually funny because I went to dinner with Shane, Fort Wayne's broadcaster, the night before, and he goes, I don't think anybody's going to fight Amesbury. And I'm thinking to myself, won't you be surprised tomorrow night? Watch, it's happening. But I didn't want to tell him because I didn't want to tip him off and tip off Amesbury. But the two of them, they talked during warm-ups, and I knew it was coming, so I was more than amped up to be able to call that fight. I knew it could go any which way. Luckily, Boom was able to land a couple of good ones, get the win in the fight, and really lifted the spirits. I mean, the team unfortunately lost the game, but scored back-to-back goals coming off of the fight, so you could see the immediate response from the team. The fans just get so lifted off that win by Boom.
Now, you've seen it, right? I mean, because you're down on the ice, obviously, so you've seen it coming early, probably better than anybody.
Yeah, I did. And, that was the funny thing. They kept kind of giving each other the look there in warm-ups, and, Boom had the smile on the face, and I'm like, all right, I know this is coming. Just when is it going to happen? And, it's a dying breed, so to say. I'm glad to see guys like Amesbury and like Boomhauer still around. And, it was just a good thing. And like Deej said, it definitely turned the momentum and really got the Nailers going in that one.
But I'll cut it in real quick. Fighting in hockey needs to come back. Like more than like what it used to be. I think it really just helps out the game as a whole.
I mean, it helps police it. I mean, yeah, it is a pipe dream. So we had a lot of signings happen early in the season. There's somebody that sticks out to you, DJ, right now that is gonna help us, this coming season.
I think the one that you look at coming from not with us last year, but from a previous season is Chris Ortiz. And you look at some of the movement that this team has experienced in the summer, where Davis Buns went over to Europe. Timo Nickel goes over to Europe. I would probably say there's a better than average chance that Isaac Beliveau gets a really hard look at playing in Wilkes-Barre Scranton this year. So you were looking at some voids left on the blue line. And how do you best fill those voids? Well, you've got Chris Ortiz here. He's going into his 4th year pro already, which is crazy to say. So he has a lot of great experience in this league. He's a terrific two-way defenseman. He's got great hands, terrific skating ability. So he's going to be one of those players who can really make plays, who you can rely on, eat a lot of minutes. And I think that experience in this league has really taught him how to play the position well. So maybe you looked at his rookie year when he was in double digits in goals and go, wow, this guy is pedal to the metal all offense. I think now, especially you look at his plus minus last year in Trois-Rivières, he's really learned how to play that position, and he's going to be a reliable piece to have in the defensive zone. So I think he's probably the most notable signing, maybe the one that fans didn't expect the most. I mean, you look at this team, how it's been put together so far. There's some awesome pieces to have back. You've got the likes of Matt Koopman, who played in every single game last year, was the team's leader in shorthanded goals, came so far in his rookie season. You look at a guy like Matthew Corsia. What was he going to be like last year coming off of missing the entire 22-23 season due to injury? He's someone who brings every intangible. He can put points on the board. He can throw down the gloves. He can be that tough player. He can make plays. There's so much that Q can do. He can take face-offs. So really invaluable to be able to have those resources on the team. And of course, we'll see what the trickle-down effect is from Wilkes-Barre Scranton. I would assume you'll see the likes of a Fip Wah, who will make that transition to his first pro season. Will we see Justin Lee again? He was a fun player to watch develop last year from the time that he started here in early November to the end of the year, becoming one of the team's go-to defensemen, one of the top players that we had in the playoffs. So really fun to be able to see in the goaltending too. And Jackson Castor, holy smokes, that guy was pretty much the number 2 for most of the season, but then he has to put the team on his back at the end of March, beginning of April, gets them into the playoffs, wins the first round series, and then we'll see what exactly we get from Pittsburgh and Wilkes-Barre. Right now, they're 6 contracts deep in the goalie department, so no matter what, Castor's going to have somebody terrific to both work with, learn from, who knows, maybe even mentor, depending on who it is.
And that's one of the things about Castor, too, and just what a story it was, because I don't think a lot of people realize that his first season in college, he was actually on the club team, not even on the varsity team. So just where he's come from and the improvement that he had from game 1 this year all the way into the playoffs.
I love those stories. I really do. You look at a guy, and this isn't to take away from the NHL and go, oh, whoop-de-doo, like, oh, Macklin Salabrini's always had it catered to him, and number 1 overall pick, and Hobie Baker, this, that. But it's kind of fun to see those stories where, like you said, Chris, Castor starts as a club hockey goalie in NCAA and then earns his way to basically the varsity backup. And then his senior year, actually end of his junior year into his senior year, earns that varsity starter's job, then turns pro. But, he's basically sitting in Florida, or pick however many teams he was with in October and November, didn't make his season debut until mid-December with us, then was sitting behind the ECHL goaltender of the year in Taylor Gauthier, earning whatever reps that he could, probably playing 1 out of every 3. And then all of a sudden, he bides his time. He works so hard. He is loved by that locker room. So when the time comes, you bet the team's ready to rally around him and say, we're going to help this guy out. We're going to play great in front of him, because we know that he's going to play terrific behind us and really be able to give us that chance to win a game.
And it is a really interesting goaltending situation, like you mentioned. I mean, I think Pittsburgh's pretty much set right now. Bloomquist, maybe more than likely has the starting job in Wilkes-Barre Scranton, but you have the other 3, and then you have Castor. I mean, you could really see anybody down here, and there's a possibility of having an NHL contracted goalie down here.
Taylor Haas wrote about it the other day on DK Pittsburgh Sports, trying to figure it out, because it is a little bit of a head scratcher almost. Like you said, Chris, Jari and Nedeljkovic, that's a slam dunk up in Pittsburgh. That's going to be the tandem. But you start to look down at the minor leagues, and Bloomquist did everything humanly possible to pretty much earn himself a spot in Pittsburgh for this season. Is that something that we may see at some point? Who knows? He certainly has earned that, and if he goes back down to Wilkes-Barre again this year, he'll dominate that again. Then you also have the new kid Larson, who they brought in from Sweden, and you figure he comes all the way from Europe. He's probably going to want to be in the AHL. But then what do? You've got Taylor Gauthier, the reigning ECHL goaltender of the year, who proved that he is so much better than this league. So he certainly earns that job in Wilkes-Barre Scranton. Then you've got the Russian kid Marashov, who's coming off of games in the KHL, which is Russia's top league. So now it's like, okay, how do you try and figure this all out to give everybody the best chance they possibly can to have success, play the most games that they can? There's a lot of things that they'll have to figure out, but you know what? It's a great problem. I'd rather have too much depth than not enough at all.
And, some of the guys that were re-signed, we alluded to a few of them, but the one that really sticks out to me that I think really improved and is just an absolute menace in the face-off dot is Dustin Mans. I mean, I think that is a great signing. He is ferocious in the face-off dot there. He's one that I'm really looking forward to seeing how he adjusts to his first full pro season.
Yeah, and there's a cool one on Dustin, too. Derek is really big on bringing in winners. And I know it's easy to say, oh, everybody's a winner. No, he specifically looks at players' resumes and who's been part of a championship before, Who knows what it takes to be able to win when everything's on the line? Who's been through that? Who's gone through the emotional ups and downs and really knows what it takes to have that extra work put in? So Dustin was a major, or not a major, but a junior hockey champion, and then went through an interesting college career. We started at Lake Superior State, then transferred to American International College. And I think that transfer to AIC really put him on the map because he was able to expand his play, really have some success on the offensive side of the puck. That really attracted Derek. I think I can see some similarities between Mans and Army. They're kind of built the same way. They're both right-handed shooters. So I think that you'll definitely see kind of a similar scenario to Matt Koopman last year. We brought him in at the end of the 22-23 season, got that taste, and really turned into an impact player in 23-24. Man, same thing, scored a couple of goals here this past year. Now he's got that taste. He'll be able to carry that into this coming year. And not only does he have that championship pedigree, but there's also a nice connection to the locker room because he was able to play college with Jared Westcott. So there's a nice relationship. It's already there. So there's not as much unfamiliarity. Somebody can just come right in, pick right up, and know a teammate that they're with here that they were with before.
So DJ, kind of transitioning now, because in the back there, you have the Lewiston Maniacs jersey. And I mean, 13 years ago, you're sitting there in Lewiston, and then you get a phone call that you're now the broadcaster for the Wheeling Nailers. And this season is going to be a huge milestone for you, hitting your 1,000 game. Can you just talk through the emotions and how much this season means to you? And we're not even there yet.
Yeah, it's definitely something I've thought a lot about. As the numbers have increased over the years and you start to pick off the milestones, 500, 600, 700, 800, 900, and the 1,000's always kind of been that big number. And you see it when players hit that number in the NHL, just how much of a big deal it is. It's not easy to do 1,000 games of anything. You look at how small lists are, especially in the hockey world, of whether it's players, broadcasters, coaches, equipment managers. You go down the list. There's not a lot of people who have been able to do 1,000 games. There's a lot of wear and tear. There's a lot of time that gets put into it. I mean, I do it because it's fun. I still absolutely love what I do. I've always been told that if you don't love it, get the heck out of it. Well, I still love it, so I'm not getting out just yet. So we're still having a blast, but it's definitely a night that's going to be extremely special. I don't really know what to expect from it. I know that there's some plans within the organization to do some stuff for it. It's very weird for me to talk about it. Like, we have our promo meetings and they're like, oh, we got to do something for his 1,000th game. I'm like, I really don't want to talk about this, but okay, you guys put together whatever you think. This is fun. This is cool. The journey's been incredible, though, just to see everything come together, to be able to create the relationships that I have over the 13 going into 14 seasons, to be able to experience some of the moments that I had. I mean, shoot, how many people can say that they've called 2 overtime Game 7 goals, 3 Game 7 wins, 2 goalie fights? I mean, some of the things that I've been able to experience on the mic are just absolutely outrageous. And I'm really looking forward to this season. It's going to be a lot of fun. The switch in divisions, I don't know how much of an impact it's going to have on the ice because, well, we barely see some of those teams as it is. But to be able to go back up to the Northeast, open up in Portland, Maine, where I'm from originally, to be able to see so many great friends. I've already had members of the old Portland Pirates Booster Club reach out to me, say, oh, can't wait to have you back in town. People I work with at the Sea Dogs, people that I went to high school, college, teachers, classmates, just everybody going on and on, listing them out. So that trip's going to be a lot of fun. Worcester, I have some of my best friends in Worcester. One of my best friends from high school is the athletic trainer for UMass Ice Hockey, which is not very far away. Another one of my great friends is a broadcaster for the Worcester Red Sox. I've got another friend who's a Railers season ticket holder. So to be able to go back and see a lot of those friends and to be able to do that with games is going to be, it's going to make the whole season really come together for me. And to be able to mix that in with the 1,000 is going to be a lot of fun.
Indeed, I can tell you, man, it's been an honor, and I'm so excited. I'm only going into my 3rd year as a PA announcer. I mean, I kind of did the math. I think I have to do PA for about 30-some years before I could hit 1,000. But man, like, what an honor it's going to be just to be able to share this moment for you. And like I said, I'm excited for my 3rd year, and especially, man, when that 1,000 game comes around, can't wait to be a part of that with you.
Yeah, it's going to be an absolute blast. That'll be a lot of fun.
you were talking a little bit about you've been there for some of the biggest events or biggest moments in with the Nailers. First, like what inspired you to get into this as a career, and then like what would you say is probably your most memorable moment, like of like on the mic?
Well, first off, I got into it because I absolutely sucked at playing sports. Let's go ahead and call that one as we see it. There's a reason that I'm above the ice and not on the ice, okay? So I learned that real quick. When you get one hit in your entire Little League Baseball season, you start to go, well, you know what? Major League Baseball is probably out of the equation. So let's see if we can find something different to do. And I was one of those goofs who I would do play-by-play on anything. If I was playing video games with my friends, I would call the game. Like I would have those two play against each other and I'd be in the background calling it. Or in the street playing street hockey, or in my yard playing baseball. For some reason, I was always connected to wanting to either play-by-play it or act like I was a PA guy, whatever it may be. So it just was a natural fit for me. And I was able to make some tremendous connections along the way. And obviously I could go on for days and days on how it all, came to be. But started my sports career with the Portland Sea Dogs, AA affiliate for the Red Sox. Spent 9 years there. Worked under Mike Antonellis, who was actually the friend I was referencing earlier, who I'm going to see in Worcester this year. He was one who was instrumental in really helping me get my career started. Then connected with Alex Reed, who's now with the Jacksonville Icemen and Zoyer Sports. And he's the one who opened the door, not only in Lewiston, but Wheeling. And that was able to secure me the job here in 2011, albeit about a week before the season started. That's one of my favorite stories to tell, how not only did I not get hired, I didn't even get interviewed until October 6th. And opening day was October 14th. So I had to learn that day and then pack up my life in an entire weekend, move down 13 hours from Scarborough, Maine to Wheeling, West Virginia, and get ready to go to Greenville, South Carolina to open my career. So it was a whirlwind of a week, but certainly one of those memories you'll never forget. But as far as the question about, memorable moments, I feel like the 2 overtime game 7s, I definitely was better my first one than my second one. It helps when you're at home. The Riley Brace one is one of the most epic moments in Wheeling hockey history. Wins game 7, overtime, second round against Reading to advance to the conference final. Team ultimately goes on to the Kelly Cup final for just the second time in team history. So that's one, and I was able to really nail that call, which made me extremely happy. And then I feel like the goalie fight of Francois Brassard and Kevin Carr during the COVID year, probably the worst season I've ever experienced in my life, having to call games remotely out of our office. I wanted to blow my head off, but lo and behold, you never know what you're going to see when you go to the rink on a nightly basis, right? We're going in, it's a Sunday. There's probably going to be about 47 icing calls. And yet, what do we end the game with? A goalie fight. Completely comes out of nowhere. Brassard beats the snot out of Carr. Fans are going nuts. I get to go nuts. So it was like, oh, wow, this is incredible. So I would say Brace OT and then the Brassard goalie fight would probably be 1 and 2.
That was the strangest year because you and I were covering games up at the top. We were the opposite end of where you were at. And that was just the craziest year. The COVID year was just so strange. But yeah, you calling games on a TV is just outlandish. Like, that's crazy.
I never want to do it ever again that way.
Probably not. Go ahead, John.
All right. So you touched on it a little bit earlier, the affiliation and how that works. So how important is that to a franchise, especially in the ECHL, and how can the bigger clubs really help?
Oh, yeah, it's absolutely vital. And you see it directly correlating with team success and the sorts of impacts that you have. I was looking through some of the numbers the other day, and I want to say there were something like 1,900 ECHL games played last year, and 1,400 or so of them were played by either NHL or AHL contracted goalies. Goalies is obviously the position that you see it the most with because there's the most flexibility, and a lot of teams will want to have 5, 6, maybe even 7 goalies deep in their organization. So more often than not, you're going to see contracted goaltenders, and you're going to have them be impacts like Taylor Gauthier was for us last season. And unfortunately, you didn't see as big of an impact in some of the previous seasons as Gauthier was able to have with us last year. But you look at some of the other players that we had on contracts last year, top D pairing, Isaac Beliveau, Timo Nickel, put Justin Lee into that conversation too. And that's one of the funny things. And I know people always want to start to put guesses together in July, August on, oh, what's this team going to look like? Who's going to be the best team in the league? You don't really know, because at this time we were sitting here last year, Justin Lee had only had maybe a couple of AHL games in the spring with Wilkes-Barre Scranton. We didn't know that he was going to turn out to be one of our top defensemen. We didn't know that Isaac Beliveau was going to be second in rookie goals by defensemen last year. So you don't know ultimately what it's going to do, but to have that kind of an impact by those type of players, you have a guy like Justin Adamo last year who was on an AHL contract. You look at the numbers on those too. Any NHL, AHL contracted player counts as $525 on your salary cap. Justin Adamo was not going to be a $525 a week ECHL player. He was going to exceed that tremendously. So to be able to have an affiliate sign an impact player like that, to be able to save you on the salary cap, also be able to help you in having high production, that says the world. You look at another guy like Lucas Svejkovsky, who just got traded to Tampa Bay, but he was a tremendous impact player. I mean, you look at just what Pittsburgh and Wilkes-Barre were able to accomplish in giving the Nailers some terrific players to give them that opportunity to succeed. And it works that way in other places. Florida, Cam Johnson, back-to-back Kelly Cup champions. Right away, they just signed a new affiliation deal with St. Louis, and I guarantee you, Craig Brush got on the phone and said, hello, Springfield, you better sign this Cam Johnson for us so that he can be our goaltender next year. And they also were able to re-sign the Kelly Cup playoff MVP and Oliver Chow to an AHL deal. So that makes a big impact. I think you saw it on a negative impact last year when looking at a team like Reading, where Philadelphia, Lehigh Valley was so impactful for them in 22-23. And I think if you look at their numbers and compare in 23-24, there was a big-time drop-off, especially in the production standpoint. And you look at how few affiliate guys they had compared to the year before, and I think you can definitely see a connection.
And on a related note there, you see a bunch of former Nailers, playing at the big club. What makes Wheeling so special to be able to keep pumping out those guys to the league, to the big league?
I think there's that connection first off with Pittsburgh, where you're going to see the staff down here. And I don't necessarily think that you're going to see that in other organizations. I mean, Kyle Dubas came down here last year for a game with his son. What other NHL general manager, first off, is going to come to an ECHL building, but secondly, bring his son decked out in a Nailers jersey to be able to experience what this is like? It just shows that not only for the player standpoint that, yes, I'm on this guy's radar, but this is also a human being. I want to be part of this organization. This guy shows me that he can be a person, that he's got a family, that he has those types of values and really enjoys and embraces what it's like to be in this organization. So I think the fact that you see the Pittsburgh staff down here on a regular basis, we had Kane Tesey, the goaltending development coach, here regular. We had Chris Butler, who's in the player development part of the Penguins organization, down here on a regular basis. Tom Kostopoulos, who heads player development, he was down here on a regular basis. You're getting that sometimes one-on-one, sometimes group teaching from the organization, whether you're an ECHL contract, AHL contract, NHL contract, doesn't matter. Even if Kane's down here to specifically work with Gauthier, he's not leaving Jackson Castor out to the woodshed and saying, go figure out goaltending yourself. No, he's bringing him in and saying, hey, you're part of this too. I'm developing you in addition to our NHL contract guy. And I think that's really appeasing to players, where they know that they can get valued. They have that opportunity. If they do well, I mean, Adamo's a perfect case where he was on an ECHL contract his first year. He played his way to an American Hockey League contract the next year. There's not a lot of players and teams who can say that. I know that I'm not going to throw specific organizations under the bus, but there's teams where the AHL affiliate's like, oh, you had a 30-goal year in the ECHL? That's cute. We don't care. Whatever you do is whatever you do down there, and you're off on your own.
Mood?
All right, so going into, was it year 13? Year 13, 14, whatever.
14.
I wasn't paying attention. I'm out this way somewhere.
He doesn't know how to do math either, but we're good.
During the course of the season, how do you prepare for each game and stay engaged with the audience, especially during high stakes moments in the game and even the low points of the game?
Yeah, you really got to have a feel for what's going on. So my prep, I love the process. It's always something I've fallen in love with, is really being able to do that preparation beforehand and know what I want to do. So like in the week before, if it's a team where I haven't seen them yet in the year, or I haven't seen them in a while, I'll pull up one of their past games just so I can get an idea of who these players are, what they look like, who's playing well for them. Is there a fun connection? Like, is there somebody who went to college with one of our players where if there's a stoppage and they're standing next to each other on a face-off, I can say, oh, hey, a couple college teammates standing side by side. That's pretty cool. I'm sure they're having a little yuck right now. So I like to be able to do that. I take a couple hours out of my day leading up to the game time, start to put my notes together on different factoids that I want to use as the game's going along. And then from there, honestly, like with the interaction, you kind of just feel how the game's going. You'll notice where if it's a tight game in the third period, I'll go away. Like, I guess first and second period, I'll start to do more interacting with the fans. I'll get into Twitter. Hey, send me a tweet. Let's chat. Let's see what everybody's talking about. Who's eating what for dinner tonight? Who's got a question? Who's rooting on from, cousin Larry's house in, the middle of the woods. I don't know. Just fun little things. Keeps people engaged. They like to hear their name on radio. Who doesn't? It's fun. It makes you actually feel like you're part of the conversation. You're actually talking with them as opposed to them. So I'll usually go that way. But if it's a tight game in the third period, you'll notice that I'll probably start to shut that off just because you don't want to be goofy, especially if it's an intense moment. If it's a tie game or a one-goal game where things could swing really quickly, you want to make sure that you're focused on the play at hand. Now, that being said, if it's a Sunday game and it's a blowout, you know what? That thing's going anywhere that Isaac and I want it to go. If we want to start talking about what fans are doing in the stands, that's what we're going to do. If we want to start telling stories, that's what we're going to do, because you know what? If regardless of whether we're up or down, if the game is starting to spiral out of hand, you still want to have the fans engaged, and you don't want them to say, well, this is over, click. So that's kind of my approach on that.
And that's something that's always been fun with me and you, Deej, at the beginning of games, especially if it's a team that we hadn't seen for a while, like you alluded to, just being able to come up and have that conversation with you and Isaac and just be like, hey, I really don't want to mess these players up. But I could say, though, and I want to say this on the podcast, I mean, you by far have the best pronunciation guide in the league. Easily have the best pronunciation guide in the league.
Well, you're going to like it a lot better this year because it's become mandatory now. We all had a discussion amongst the media relations and broadcasters, and we said we need to be on top of the pronunciation guides and really make sure. But I'm lucky. I've got a whole bunch. I call it my reference wall, where it's over there. I'm in my office at the moment. And one of the things I have is the NHL pronunciation guide on the instructions on how to spell out different letters or different pronunciations on certain combos. So you're able to have it fluent, and that way there's no question on what do they actually mean on this? No, it's following the NHL script.
It's crazy. So I want to talk about the new expansion teams. What's your thoughts on, like, we're always big with logos, colors, things like that. What are you seeing with the new expansion teams? What do you like and what don't you like?
Yeah, so you've got Bloomington and Tahoe coming in this year, and we'll see Bloomington here for the home opener, and then Tahoe we will not see. Tahoe is obviously a play on words. They're the Night Monsters, not N-I-G-H-T, but K-N-I-G-H-T, because they are, of course, in Nevada, and they are an affiliate of the Vegas Golden Knights and the Henderson Silver Knights, so it's a nice play to be able to get them involved. Tahoe, wow. And actually, for that matter, both the organizations, and I'll touch more on this in a second, but Tahoe is owned by Zoyer Sports, who runs Jacksonville. Savannah has some control on Allen, Atlanta. Like, they have a really big footprint in this league with teams that they manage, and they've had incredible success. I mean, you look at the attendances that Jacksonville and Savannah have put together, they're always in conversations for league awards. So you know that Tahoe is absolutely going to hit the ground running when it comes with the product that they're putting on. They've really been able to capitalize on the excitement of hockey in Nevada right now. The Vegas Golden Knights hit the ground running. I think everybody hoped it would be cool. They know they put on a show, but they won a cup in their first 6 years, which is pretty incredible. And I think it's really gotten people excited about the sport now, getting both affiliates in that same state. I mean, I love the color scheme. It's different. Everybody seems to have blue and black and red, and it's all behind me right here. So to see somebody go teal and Vegas gold, hey, cool. That's something different. A Night Monster. We don't have any of those, so that's pretty neat. And then you have Bloomington, and Bloomington is under the same ownership as the Indy Fuel. So another team that has experience. Indy's going into their 11th season this year. So they've done a really nice job. They're going into a new building in December in Fishers. We had a chance to stay up in Fishers last year. What a really beautiful area that is. A lot of businesses, and I feel like it definitely gets them in a better position where fans are going to have a lot more they can do, go to eat, stay over around the game. So I think that's going to be great from a fuel perspective. And it'll be fun to see what that ownership learned from doing expansion 10 years ago with the fuel, to see what they're going to bring into Bloomington. They've got the light blue and the red and almost a little bit of a retro. Kind of reminds me of Cleveland Barons a little bit of old days with the top hat on top of the bison head. So that's pretty cool too. And they've got a Rangers affiliate. So we'll see how that all plays out.
Yeah, I think that's one neat thing too, just about, Bloomington and Indy being so close. But now we have that opportunity to maybe develop some more rivals, moving back over here to the East, obviously rekindled with Reading right now. We saw a little bit of that last year. I mean, there was definitely a lot of animosity. Of course, when we beat them, 8 out of 9 times or something like that, you're probably going to be a little bit ticked off. I get it. And they were talking about in the penalty box. So it was interesting, but to be able to rekindle that with Reading, but like you said, being able to go back home and see some of these teams that we either haven't seen or haven't seen in a while.
It's going to be wild, because I've had a lot of people ask me like, oh, what do you think is going to happen with the new divisions? And it's like, honestly, I have no idea, because like you said, yes, Reading, absolutely front and center. That's a rivalry, always has been, always will be. And you have so many head-to-head games with them this year. I want to say it's 11. But after that, it drops off drastically, where the next highest total that we see out of the North is Trois-Rivières with 6. So, and the layout of that is hilarious too, where it's home games 2 and 3 for us. Then we mix in a school day game in March, and then we play them games 70, 71, and 72 up there. So it's going to be one of those where I'm going to have a blast with it in the final games and go, all right, how many guys that we saw play for these teams against each other in November are actually here in April? And I guarantee you there's going to be at least double digits that have changed on each side, which, I mean, it's just wild. And you don't know from time to time what you're going to see out of what team. Like, if you saw the Nailers during their 12-game winning streak last year, that was a completely different team than, let's say, was in Fort Wayne on that first Saturday of March when the team played 2 skaters short because of call-ups, injuries, and running through the gauntlet. So you look at how these matchups are going to land. I mean, Worcester, all 4 of them are within 2 weeks of each other. Adirondack, all 5 of them are within 2 weeks of each other. So I think you're going to see little blips where maybe they see each other for a lot of time over a couple of weeks, and just in that stretch they'll get tired. But I don't know if you'll really be able to see those rivalries build and see what kind of an impact switching divisions have, because you're still going to have a pile of Cincinnati games. You're still going to have a pile of Toledo. You still get a good mix of Fort Wayne, Indy, a little taste of Iowa, Kalamazoo. I mean, that's one of the best things. I don't think, aside from Reading, anybody in Wheeling's going to get tired of seeing everybody, because we see so many teams this year, which is great. You've got Tulsa comes in for a weekend. Kansas City comes in for a weekend. We go to South Carolina. We go to Greenville. It's just like the list of opponents. I think it's the second most we've ever seen in team history in a single season. So that's kind of fun too, just to be able to keep it fresh every once in a while.
Yeah. So my question for you, though, is obviously we know you love calling games from home, and you had the COVID year where you had to call on a TV. Where is your favorite place to go calling away games?
What's the category we talking? Are we talking like just actually calling the game, physically calling the game, where I like to go the best? Or are we talking the whole everything to go with it?
Let's do that.
Because there's different answers. That nice Don Rigby answer. The answer is yes. Let's see. Favorite from a vantage point, I love the new building in Iowa. That place is fantastic. It's so bright. It's a small seating bowl, so there's only one level all the way around, and you're right at the top of that seating bowl, where I could throw something from my broadcast location and put it to the bench easy as that. Like, it's so close, so you can see everything extremely well. So I love an extreme arena. Yeah, I love calling games from Iowa. They've got such a great spot there. I mean, Kalamazoo, same thing. You're right at center ice. You're at the top of the seating bowl. Toledo's convenient because you've got a TV screen above your head so you can see replays on that. I'm going to be curious when I go back to Glens Falls this year, Adirondack, to see what that setup looks like, because they used to have a really cool one, almost Johnstown-ish, where it overhung a little bit. So you were in, like a platform that kind of overhung the seating bowl. So you were really close. And you had some great sounds. Like you could drop a crowd mic down over the front of it, and you'd be able to get some really great sound coming off of the ice. So that was one I really enjoyed. From a what's around, just an overall perspective, I mean, anytime you're going down south to the warm weather, that's an absolute blast. You've got the Orlando Solar Bears who play in a state-of-the-art NBA facility in the Kia Center. So that's always a fun place to go. And we always seem to get an off day, so I always get my Disney World fix in. So that's a blast. Utah this year. Wow. I mean, you talk about a place that is absolutely gorgeous. We landed there and we're starting to draw. Luckily, Derek was driving and I was navigating. If I was driving, we may have hit something, because the views of the mountains that you were driving through, it was like you were just staring at a postcard 24/7. I was like, this place is absolutely beautiful. And I had a chance on the off day. I went up to the Olympic facilities, and they actually just got announced that they're hosting 2034. So not only a past Olympic venue, but now going to be a future Olympic venue. I was able to see things like the bobsled and the luge track, and be able to see the ski jumping facilities. Like, that was super cool. They have an autograph wall inside the arena that the Grizzlies play in that was all signed by Team Canada, who won the gold medal for the men in 2002. And you were able to go through and pick off, like, oh, there's Marty Brodeur. Oh, there's Rob Blake. Oh, there's Mario. Like, it was really, really cool to be able to take it in. I think that's one of the things that I've really fallen in love with this job with, is just being able to see different places, explore new things that I had never seen before, and really just be able to soak in going to those different spots. I remember there were times in my first few years where I was like, oh man, I hate going to City X, but now you find some way to fall in love with the city and what it has to offer, whether it's something you see, whether it's the people you meet. We're so lucky to be able to do this job. And yeah, I want to see our team win at the end of the day, but at the same time, if I can enjoy myself and create some good memories, then it makes it so much fun.
Yeah, we made the Norfolk trip a couple years ago, and that was a neat arena. Like most of these guys that have been there, the Scope, that is definitely a neat arena to be in, and the area is just kind of cool as well with all the naval base and everything. It's just a crazy environment.
Yeah, you walk up to the arena, and it looks like you're walking up onto a spaceship, just the way that it's built from the outside. Really cool. I love, like, all the natural light, though, is great. Like, you walk around the concourse during the daytime, like after morning skate or something, and you just have all the sunlight shining in. And sometimes if you go early or late in the season, they'll have the fountain going on the outside, which is really cool. Really neat to see. Very open building on the inside. They've done a really nice job in being able to capitalize on group opportunities where they've created like mini loges on ice level. They have a party deck on ice level. They have a party deck up top, really just trying to make sure that they can get the most out of their fan experience that they can. Like you mentioned, the naval ships, I went on that a couple of years ago when we went down there. Believe it or not, it took me till last year to be able to do that for the first time. I don't know why I'd never done it before, and I'm glad that I did. That was awesome to be able to go in. It's so huge. You don't realize how enormous those ships are, but to be able to see that, you're right on the water. The hotel's right on the water. Derek always makes sure that I get us rooms that overlook the water. So that's a must. There's not many requests from Derek Army, but looking over the water in Norfolk is a request. And then the food options right along that waterside district. The fudgery's right there too. That's a must stop for anybody that goes to Norfolk. You can actually watch them make fudge and purchase it afterwards, which is really cool.
Yeah, we walked up there for the first time, and my brother was stationed down there, and he was like, okay, we're going to walk down here and go get the tickets. And I'm like, where are we going? Because you walk down these steps, and I'm like, the parking garage is underneath. What the hell is this place?
It's cool. I like going there. That's definitely one that I enjoy, and I'm excited to go there in January.
Yeah, I'm hoping you get an opportunity here pretty soon to go to the BOK Center in Tulsa. That is definitely a great vantage point. I had the opportunity when I lived in Oklahoma to work with the Oilers. So I'm really hoping that's one you're going to get the cross off your list as well. I know you had the opportunity to be in Wichita, which they got a pretty cool venue too. But yeah, definitely the BOK Center. I'm excited for you.
Wichita's a tough vantage point, though, man.
It is.
You're up on like the 4th floor, and you're like along the right side of the goal line. That's tough.
It's a bird's eye
The
view.
funny thing that I always get a charge out of, always, I've been there once. They've got this little window to the right of you. It looks like a McDonald's like drive-through window, and it's even got the little slider thing on it. And I'm like, I have no idea what this is doing all the way up here because there's not a whole lot of other people up here, but. All right, this is cool. We'll just have a little bit of fun with this. But yeah, Tulsa I haven't hit yet. Savannah I haven't hit yet. I'll hit Trois Rivières for the first time this year. And then obviously the new teams of Bloomington and Tahoe. But yeah, I'm almost fully complete the leagues. That'll be fun.
Are we going to get to see any awesome, cool pregame videos this year? Because
Yeah,
you had
those were
some
nice. I really like those. So you started doing this, what, last year before?
Yeah. Yeah,
That's
that was
very,
something that just kind of came to me. And I was like, all right, let's see what we can throw together. And we were able to have a nice creation. I just shot them on my phone the first year. And then we were able to get a great sponsorship from Gold Corey and Turak, who I do the Booze Cruise You Lose program with. And with Patrick, our amazing marketing and social media person, he shoots those on the camera when we're at home, or he'll give me a camera to shoot those with on the road. And then I send him the raw file. And he's able to put his different edits in there, make it sound good, look good, put some graphics on top of it, and really make it look like a really nice product. So those have come a long way. I love it. I love to be able to showcase different places and different things, whether it's a cool historical nugget or a neat landmark, just to be able to show the fans that behind the scenes that they don't necessarily get a chance to see, especially when we go on the road somewhere. And well, if I get a chance to be a complete wacko on some of them, just to kind of have some fun and make people not know what they're going to expect, well, we'll do that too.
It's hard to say like where, because they're awesome to watch, obviously, because you try to, it gives you the basically insight of what's going on, but it's more fun to figure out where you're going to be in them, especially like obviously the away ones, because everybody doesn't know, but your usage of like West Banco and locker rooms and stuff is just hysterical.
Yeah, I've done how many at West Banco Arena now over 2 years? We're running out of places. Yeah, I have to think. Even on the road sometimes, too. That's why Utah, I was like, oh, this is great. I've never been here. I've got a whole building and city I got to play with of different options. You go to, somewhere else where you go 8 billion times a year and you're like, all right, I'm starting to run out of places here. Where are we going to go next? I really don't know. And like you said, West Banco, I mean, you're trying to keep it fresh, and maybe we repeat them every once in a while, but then if I can throw a fun little wrinkle into something, then, I'll try and do that. So I'll have to see what kind of new places I come up with this year.
So those are staying. Safe to say those are staying around.
Oh, 1,000,000%. Absolutely they are. You should see the reaction, the interaction rate on social media. They're absurd.
Oh, I bet. So, Deej, we appreciate you for coming on. I know it's earlier in the season. We're going to see if you want to come on later on once we get some hockey underway, some more things to talk about. But I appreciate you being on the show. Any final words from you?
No, I really appreciate what you guys are doing. It's awesome to be able to sit down and chat and to share different memories throughout the years, and to be able to talk about the success that we're having as an organization. Like I said, I mean, everybody saw the success of the team on the ice last year. Definitely, I think Derek Army is looking to make sure that gets replicated again this year, put together a team that people are going to enjoy. I know Patrick just put out his teaser today on the promos and a lot of those, and that's something that I love the process on that. That's so much fun. We take about an hour and a half in the office every Wednesday morning. We put all of our ideas on the board. We take all of our fan ideas, mix them, match them, and figure out how it can all come together so that we can put together a dynamic promo schedule that everybody can be really excited about, appeal to as many people as possible, and make it an absolutely incredible atmosphere at the games. And I'm excited to be able to see the attendance grow. I think we have a great chance to hit 90,000 for the first time in a while this year. Who knows? Maybe we hit that century mark again. We've only hit 100,000 in a season once since I've been here. But if there's a staff that can do it with the fan support that we have, the amount of connections that we have in this community, the people that care about us so much, like, this is so much fun. I'm having one of the best times of my life, and to be able to celebrate a milestone for myself this year is going to be a blast. So thanks so much to you guys again for giving me the chance to, basically just continue to let the word out and let people know how much fun Wheeling Nailers hockey is.
Absolutely. Just get out, wheeling in general. But once again, thank you, Deej, for everything that you do and just being the voice of the Nailers. Guys, it's been a great episode. Thank you for hanging out with us. Like I said, we'll have to bring Deej on again. This has been a lot of fun. But that's DJ Abisalh. You can catch him all season long. Where are we at this year? Are we back on Fox? Are we back on Mix? Where are we at, Mr. Iheart?
We're at Mix right now.
97.3.
Yeah,
All right.
7.3. Listen to it. And like I said, Deej, can't wait, man. And this is going to be a great year. I feel it.
Yes, absolutely.
All right, guys. We'll catch you next time.